All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we are diving deep, peeling back the layers of a rock anthem that has become, well, a kind of refuge for millions of people. I'm talking about sTraNgeRs by Bring Me the Horizon.
Okay, so the entire song, which dropped back on July 6, 2022, is really built around this one really powerful idea, this paradox. You're in a room packed with people, but you feel totally and completely alone. I mean, it's a feeling that hits so hard for so many of us, right? That sense of being disconnected even when you're literally surrounded. So the big question is, how did this one song manage to capture that feeling so perfectly and become this massive anthem? Right, an anthem for sTraNgeRs. Because that's exactly what this is. This track, it's more than just a song. You could almost call it a diagnosis of a modern condition, you know? It just perfectly captures this generational vibe of anxiety and this desperate search for connection. It's become this rallying cry for anyone who's ever felt like they just don't fit in, and it manages to turn a huge concert venue or even just your headphones into this, I don't know, this shared communal space. But to really get why this song has so much power, we've got to look at where it came from. Its origin story is incredibly personal, and it's actually rooted in the very community the song is talking to.
So the whole idea for the song started when frontman Oli Sykes found himself, well, kind of overwhelmed. Fans were coming up to him and just pouring out their darkest, most traumatic stories. And you can imagine he felt this huge weight on his shoulders, like he was suddenly supposed to be their therapist. But then he had this aha moment. He realized the real healing, the real therapy, it wasn't coming from him. It was coming from the community itself, from the shared experience of all these fans, all together in that one room.
And this whole idea really clicked for him during his own time in rehab. That's where Ollie realized just how powerful it was to hear other people say the exact same things he was thinking. Their stories might have been different, but the feelings were the same. And that taught him something huge. His struggles weren't some kind of personal flaw. No, they were just a fundamental part of being human.
In fact, Sykes actually thinks of sTraNgeRs as the last piece of a puzzle, a kind of conceptual rehab trilogy in his music. So you've got the song N.A., which is like the group therapy session. Then there's Lost, which is that intense one-on-one therapy. And finally, sTraNgeRs is that big light bulb moment, that crucial epiphany when you realize that just speaking your pain out loud in a room with other people doing the exact same thing, that's where the healing really starts.
Okay, but the storytelling here, it goes way beyond just the lyrics. What's so cool is how the producers actually sonically engineered this feeling of moving from being totally isolated to being part of a community. The music itself literally takes you on that journey. Let's break that down.
So first off, the tempo. The track sits at about 91 beats per minute, which is pretty moderate. It gives it this steady, almost heartbeat-like pulse. It's not trying to rush you or anything. Instead, it's creating all this space for the emotion to just build and build, letting you really breathe inside the song.
And here's where it gets really brilliant. During the verses, listen closely. The sound is really tight, really narrow. The vocals feel like they're right up in your ear, almost whispering, and the bass is filtered down. It feels so small, so confined, like you're hearing someone's internal monologue. But then the chorus hits, and the whole thing just explodes. The mix goes super wide, it's expansive, it's filled with these layered anthemic harmonies. It goes from one person's thought to this massive, shared, stadium-sized cry.
Okay, but now's where we peel back the final and honestly, the most surprising layer. Because this song, it's this incredibly dense tapestry of complex ideas, and it connects to fields you would never expect. I'm talking computer science, metallurgy, seriously.
Let's kick things off with this one lyric. It's just a devastating self-assessment, isn't it? This is so much more than just saying, oops, I made a mistake. This is saying, I am the mistake. It's a declaration that you're flawed right down to your very core.
Now, in clinical psychology, this is what's known as a core cognitive distortion of depression, that internal belief that you don't just make errors, you are an error. But let's look at it from a tech perspective, which is just fascinating. It's like seeing yourself as a fatal system error. You're not just a program with a simple bug that you can patch. No, you are a program whose fundamental source code is just corrupt. You're basically designed to crash.
All right, next up is this totally paradoxical plea. This isn't some gentle request for help, right? This is a demand for complete and total destruction as the only way to actually heal.
And this idea, it mirrors two really fascinating concepts from completely different fields. In metallurgy, you have tempering. To make steel stronger, you have to heat it up like crazy and then shock it with cold. You're literally shattering its internal structures so you can rebuild it, but tougher. Then, in psychology, you've got something called post-traumatic growth. That's the idea that going through and confronting trauma can actually lead to a higher level of resilience than you had before.
And that truth is this. Healing, just like strengthening steel, sometimes requires being broken first. The song just gets that. It understands that sometimes real, deep, fundamental change only happens after a complete deconstruction of who you are. You kind of have to hit rock bottom before you can build a new foundation.
Okay, and what about this line? It's such a classic expression of existential dread, just a perfect, tidy loop of desperation and resignation that feels so universal.
Well, philosophers like Albert Camus actually had a name for this, the absurd. It's that eternal conflict between us humans, desperately searching for meaning, and a universe that just stays completely silent, offering none. And you know what's wild? Biologists see this as a literal truth. The very processes in our bodies that keep us alive, our metabolism, our cells dividing, those are the exact same processes that cause us to age and eventually lead to our death. So the act of living is quite literally the process of slowly dying. So, after digging through all of this, the personal story, the sonic design, the deep academic connections, what is sTraNgeRs really all about? Well, it's about building a brand new kind of community, a community built on shared vulnerability.
And believe it or not, anthropologists actually have a word for this exact thing. It's called communitas. It's this special, temporary state where all the normal social hierarchies and structures just dissolve, and people are united by a profound shared experience. Think about it. A concert, a festival, even a group therapy session. Those are all places where communitas can happen. It's a space where that shared experience of pain completely erases the feeling of being a stranger.
So you see, sTraNgeRs is doing so much, all at the same time. It's acting like a sanctuary, a safe haven where people can feel their pain together. It's a technical marvel, a piece of precise audio engineering that's literally designed to take you on an emotional journey. And it's a mirror held up to our times, reflecting this deep generational anxiety, all while being this surprisingly rich text that lets us explore all these big, complex ideas.
When you boil it all down, the song takes that private, incredibly isolating feeling of being, fucked up forever, and it transforms it into this powerful public collective bond. It looks you in the eye and says, your pain is real, it's valid, and most importantly of all, you are not the only one feeling it.
And that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. If a single song can turn a room full of strangers into a genuine community, where else can we find that kind of connection? In a world that so often feels isolating, what other rooms can we build for ourselves where we can be alone, together? Thanks for watching.